Hey everyone, welcome to this deep dive all about AI-generated wall art trends. We're going to uncover what's hot right now to help you guys, as creators, boost those sales. You ready to dive in?
Absolutely. I think it's such an exciting space right now, you know? The demand for digital wall art is just exploding, and AI is opening up so many possibilities, both creatively and for selling.
I completely agree. And one thing that's really caught my attention is, like the staying power of nature-inspired art.
Yeah.
Animals, plants, landscapes, they never really seem to go out of style, do they?
It's true. It's like we have this deep connection to nature, right? And studies even show that those images can like reduce stress, promote well-being. Makes sense why people would want that in their homes.
Totally. And then there's the fact that, just think about all those royalty-free and public domain images out there. It's like a treasure trove of inspiration.
It really is a gold mine for sure. And speaking of trends, have you noticed all the different color palettes popping up?
Oh, yeah. Definitely seeing a lot of vintage vibes, like those 60s colors are back in a big way. But also those like beachy palettes, very serene, and the minimalist chic of those Nordic colors. It's amazing how each one just creates a completely different mood.
It is, and that's something creators can really leverage. Like imagine creating a series of beachy prints specifically targeted toward, say, those coastal home decor shops.
Oh, that's smart.
Right, or you could tap into that vintage revival with art that appeals to, let's say, mid-century modern furniture lovers. It's all about knowing your audience.
I love that. It's not just about what's trendy, but who you're trying to reach.
Exactly.
Okay, now here's a trend that I'm really excited about, and that's watercolor. What blows my mind is how AI tools like DALL-E 3 can create these stunning watercolor effects so effortlessly.
It's incredible, isn't it? And you know what's even cooler? If you combine those watercolor effects with, say, some of those trending aquatic images we were talking about earlier, imagine stunning watercolor-style art featuring oceans, rivers, maybe even some like fish or a coral reef. It's visually captivating and taps into multiple trends at once.
Oh, I love it. And I can already picture those prints selling like hotcakes.
Me too. And you know what else is really smart? The whole gallery wall and bundle trend. Creators can capitalize on this by offering, curated collections of prints.
Oh, for sure. It's such a great way to offer something extra, something special to buyers.
Right. Imagine you create that aquatic series with those beautiful watercolors. Now you can offer them as a bundle deal, maybe 3 different sizes or variations. That way buyers can instantly create their own little underwater gallery wall at home. It's super convenient for them and a great way to increase your sales.
It's a win-win. Okay, let's shift gears for a sec and talk about contemporary folk art. I'm seeing this really cool blend of like traditional rustic imagery, but with those modern, trendy color palettes we were talking about. It's like a fresh take on a classic style.
I love that. And you know what's great? All that public domain folk art out there is like this treasure trove of imagery just waiting to be reimagined with AI. You can give it those contemporary colors, textures, experiment with compositions, and create this unique style that blends nostalgia with a modern edge. I think there's a lot of potential there.
Definitely. Now, on the totally opposite end of the spectrum, we have maximalism. Minimalism's been big for a while, but maximalism is coming back with a vengeance. We're talking bold colors, large-scale prints, the kind of art that really makes a statement.
Oh, yeah, and there's definitely a market for that. People are looking for statement pieces, something to create a focal point in their space. And maximalist art is perfect for that. It's about embracing boldness, creating this visual feast for the eyes.
It's all about making an impact. Now, we can't forget about the influence of pop culture on art. It's always been such a huge source of inspiration. But I'm thinking there must be some copyright issues to navigate there, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's so important to avoid using any copyrighted images. But don't worry, there are still tons of royalty-free and public domain options to get inspiration from. Think about broader themes, color palettes, or even just those composition styles that you can adapt without infringing on any copyrights.
That makes sense. Okay, now for the fun part, mixing trends. What if you combined a gallery wall with those aquatic images? You could have all these different sea creatures, coral reefs, wave patterns in all different sizes and arrangements.
I love it. Or you could even blend contemporary folk art with those dreamy watercolors we're talking about.
Yeah.
Imagine those classic folk motifs, but reimagined in this really fluid, ethereal style. The key is to just have fun with it, experiment, and see what unique combinations you can come up with. It's all about finding those unexpected pairings that just click.
Right, like sparking that creative magic. But okay, with all these trends swirling around, it can be a bit overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
Any tips on how creators can zero in on what works for them.
Yeah, for sure. It really comes down to understanding your audience. Like, who are you trying to reach with your art? What kind of spaces are they living in? What are their interests, their aesthetics? Once you have a good picture of that ideal buyer, then you can start tailoring your work to those preferences.
Oh, that's smart. So instead of trying to be everything to everyone, you find that niche where your art really connects.
Exactly. Like, let's say you're super passionate about botanical art and you're drawn to those vintage color palettes. You could create a series of prints with these like delicate watercolor wildflowers and herbs, all done in those warm, earthy tones.
Oh, I love that. It's like bringing that vintage charm into a modern setting.
Right. And then to tap into that gallery wall trend, you could offer them as a curated bundle, maybe 3 different sizes, variations, so buyers can make their own little herbarium at home.
Such a cool idea. Okay, so we've talked about following trends. What about setting them?
Yeah.
How do creators become the trendsetters in this world of AI art?
Ooh, that's the exciting part. I think it starts with observation. Like, pay attention to what's happening, not just in the art world, but in culture. Fashion, music, technology, even social movements. Trends often come from this convergence of influences. It's all about connecting the dots and seeing that bigger picture.
We're being the cultural detective, right?
Yeah.
Searching for those clues and patterns.
Exactly. And never underestimate your intuition. Sometimes those most groundbreaking ideas come from, trusting your gut and exploring those little sparks of inspiration.
So true. It's all about being fearless, experimenting, breaking free from those old conventions. But let's get practical for a sec. How can creators turn these insights into action, into actual steps for making trend-setting art?
Well, one strategy is to play with those unexpected combinations. Like, we talked about mixing trends, but take it a step further. Combine things that you wouldn't normally put together, textures, patterns, styles to make something totally new. Like, what if you mixed those bold colors of maximalism with the delicate details of botanical illustrations?
Ooh, that's interesting. Like a visual paradox almost.
Right. Another approach is to challenge those conventions. Like, we've seen tons of minimalist art, but what if you flipped that and went full-on maximalism in a totally new way? Instead of sleek surfaces, add in those rich textures, layer patterns in unconventional ways.
Or maybe play with some unexpected color combinations within that whole maximalist style.
Exactly. It's about pushing those boundaries and redefining what's possible within a style. And don't forget, tech is on your side in this whole creative exploration.
That's what I love about these AI tools, right? They let you try different techniques, iterate so fast, and bring your wildest visions to life.
It's like having this creative partner right there with you, pushing you to try new things and explore all those possibilities. But at the end of the day, tech is just a tool. The real magic, that comes from you, from your vision and creativity.
Totally. It's easy to get lost in the technical stuff, but ultimately it's about letting that artistic voice shine through.
Absolutely. And don't forget about community. Connect with other creators, share ideas, get feedback. It's super valuable.
Yeah. Like a support system and a brainstorm session all in one.
Exactly. Okay, now, bringing it back to you, the listener. You're a creator with your unique vision, a passion for art, and the drive to make your mark. So what trend combinations can you imagine? What unexpected fusions of style and subject matter will make your art stand out?
What boundaries are you ready to push? What conventions are you ready to challenge? The power to shape the future of AI art is in your hands.
I love that. So inspiring. You mentioned community before. Any advice on how creators can actually connect with other AI artists? Oh, tons of online communities are dedicated to AI art these days. You can find groups on all those social media platforms, dedicated forums, even like virtual workshops and events happening all the time.
Oh, cool. So many options.
Right. Don't be shy about sharing your work, asking questions, learning from others. Those communities can be super supportive and collaborative. It's great.
That's awesome to hear. Okay, so we talked trends, techniques, even community, but what about like the business side? Any tips for actually selling this AI art?
Absolutely. First things first, you got to choose the right platform, right? There are so many online marketplaces specifically for digital downloads and prints. So do your research, find one that fits your style, your target audience.
Makes sense.
Then think about pricing, how you're going to market your work, building a strong brand. It's a lot to juggle.
It really is. Like, you have to be an artist and an entrepreneur these days.
That's the truth. But the good news is there are tons of resources out there to help you with all that business stuff.
That's good to know. So for our listener who's like ready to jump in, start creating and selling, what's that one piece of advice you'd give them?
Don't be afraid to experiment. That's the beauty of AI art. It's all about exploring, having that creative freedom. Play with those prompts, the different styles, techniques, embrace the unexpected and see where it takes you. You might just stumble on the next big thing.
I love that. This whole deep dive has been so insightful. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us and with our listener.
My pleasure. I'm excited to see what happens next in AI art. It's really a game changer.
And for our listener, we hope this has given you some inspiration to start your own AI art journey. Remember, the only limit is your imagination.
Keep creating.
That's a wrap on this episode of The Deep Dive. Happy creating, everyone.